Resident Evil has been the king of survival horror for 3 decades. But here's the thing, not every game in the franchise is equally terrifying. Some lean hard into action, some play it safe, and others will have players sleeping with the lights on for a week. From creepy atmospheres to full-blown psychological terror, Esports Decoded is ranking the 10 scariest Resident Evil games ever made. And the #1 pick? Science literally backs it up. Number 10, Resident Evil 0. This one earns its spot purely on atmosphere. The improved hardware of the GameCube allowed the developers to craft environments with a level of detail that made every shadow feel intentional, and every hallway feel like a trap. The fixed camera angles might feel dated now, but back in 2002, they were doing exactly what they were designed to do, controlling what players could and couldn't see. And what they couldn't see was usually the thing about to kill them. The Queen Leech boss fight alone is enough to cement this game's place on the list. Number 9, Resident Evil Revelations. A breath of fresh air back in 2012. At a time when the franchise had drifted almost entirely into action territory, Revelations pulled things back towards survival and limited resources. Originally built for the Nintendo 3DS, it didn't truly shine until the HD version hit other platforms. The confined spaces of the Queen Zenobia cruise ship create a claustrophobic tension that never lets up. And the Skag-Dead boss fight is the kind of encounter that sticks with players long after the credits roll. This was proof that Resident Evil could still do horror when it wanted to. Number 8, Resident Evil 4. The game that reinvented the entire franchise. The shift to over-the-shoulder gameplay was a massive risk, and it paid off in ways nobody expected. Now, it's more action than horror, but when it decides to scare, it goes all in. The first encounter with the Regenerador is one of the most unsettling moments in the entire series. That breathing, that slow, twitching walk toward the player, and the realization that shooting it only makes things worse. The Del Lago fight and the Verdugo encounter round out a game that proves action and horror don't have to be mutually exclusive. Number 7, Resident Evil 2002. This is where things start getting genuinely unsettling from start to finish. The 2002 remake of the original took everything that made the 1996 version iconic and cranked it up with visuals that were stunning for the era. The Spencer Mansion feels alive in the worst possible way, and the Crimson Head mechanic, where killed zombies can reanimate into something faster and more aggressive, adds a layer of dread that the original never had. And that zombie dog jump scare through the hallway window? Even players who know it's coming still flinch. This isn't a game with scary moments, it's a scary game, period. Number 6, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, 1999. The original, not the remake, and the reason is one word: Nemesis. This relentless bioweapon stalks players through the streets of Raccoon City with an aggression that was completely unprecedented for the time. There's no safe room that truly feels safe, no hallway that guarantees peace. Nemesis can show up anywhere, at any time, and that constant threat transforms the entire experience into something that keeps the heart rate elevated from the opening minutes to the final credits. Over 20 years later, that first encounter with Nemesis still hits different.
Number 5,
Resident Evil 4 Remake. The remake took everything the 2005 original did right and layered on a level of horror the original only hinted at. The developers learned from the missteps of the RE3 remake and took the time to deliver something truly special. The biggest upgrade in the fear department? Playing as Ashley in the castle. Stripped of weapons and forced to rely on stealth and puzzle solving, those sections flip the power dynamic completely and remind players what it feels like to be genuinely helpless. The rest of the game maintains that perfect action-horror balance, but those Ashley sections push it into territory that earns this spot convincingly.
Number 4, Resident Evil Village. Each of the 4 lords represents a different subgenre of horror, which means the game keeps shifting what kind of fear it's throwing at players. Lady Dimitrescu's castle leans gothic, Moreau's reservoir is body horror, Heisenberg's factory is industrial nightmare fuel. But the one that everybody talks about, the one that sparked almost as much discussion as Lady Dimitrescu herself, is House Beneviento. No weapons, no combat, just pure psychological terror in a sequence that borrows more from PT than anything Resident Evil have done before. That single section alone could justify this game's placement, but the rest of the experience is no slouch either.
Number 3, Resident Evil 2 2019. The idea of searching a zombie-infested police station as a young, inexperienced Leon should be enough to scare most people away from the job, but the real terror starts when Mr. X shows up, those footsteps echoing through the halls, getting louder, getting closer, with no way to stop him and no way to know exactly where he is. It's sustained psychological pressure that never lets up. And then there are the lickers, blind creatures that hunt by sound, forcing players to creep past them while they growl and wait for one wrong move. When Leon first hears a licker and mutters, "What in God's name?" that's the game telling players they should have turned back a long time ago. Number 2, Resident Evil Requiem. The most ambitious game in the franchise, and one of the riskiest. For the first time, players can switch between first-person and third-person perspectives, and that choice fundamentally changes the tone of every scene. Third-person leans into action, first-person amplifies pure horror. But the real secret weapon is Grace Ashcroft, an FBI analyst suffering from PTSD. She's not remotely equipped to handle the nightmare she gets dragged into. She stumbles, stutters, panics, and screams, and that vulnerability makes every encounter through her eyes exponentially more terrifying than anything a battle-hardened Leon would experience. When the game wants to scare, it knocks it out of the park. Chloe's orphanage scene alone is enough to lose sleep over.
Number 1. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
And taking the top spot, the one that science literally proved is the scariest. In 2022, a group of scientists measured players' heartbeat rates while playing horror games, and this one pushed BPM to 121 during its most intense moments. That's nearly double the average resting heart rate. Ethan Winters walking into that Louisiana farmhouse looking for his missing wife was the moment Resident Evil became genuinely, viscerally terrifying again. The first-person perspective puts players directly into the horror with no distance, no safety net. The Baker family dinner scene, Mia with the chainsaw, Jack stalking through the house. Every single moment is designed to make players feel trapped, powerless, and deeply uncomfortable. The franchise had flirted with horror for years, but this is the game that went all in and never looked back. From atmospheric dread to scientifically proven terror, these are the 10 Resident Evil games that pushed players to their absolute breaking point. Horror is the one thread that connects every game in this franchise, but these 10 pulled that thread harder than any others. Which Resident Evil game scared you the most? Drop it in the comments. Esports Decoded wants to hear those stories. And if this breakdown was worth the watch, smash that like button, subscribe to Esports Decoded, and stay tuned for the next one.